Hey everybody, how's it going? Nico, aka Scarlet Moon here, back with another special topic video. And in this video, I'm going to be tackling the question of all questions. How do I find my rising sign? Should I be looking at my rising sign? How do I know which is going to be more accurate when it comes to my general horoscope? Why should I look in the first place? I'm going to take you through the entire process and also explain the reasoning why we do this. Now, this is sort of a very special video topic, and for some reason I have not seen any other reader actually come about trying to actually explain or teach this to people. I actually did do a video answering this very question back in 2016, but it might be something that I just have to refresh every once in a while. But I've also seen nobody else actually bother to venture to talk about it, and though the answer is actually quite simple. So share the crap out of this video, because you probably know a lot of people who want to know the answer as well. And of course, if you ever want to get a session with me, you can always go to my website. It's integrativemysticism.com. So what the heck is going on when it comes to this topic of rising signs versus sun signs or even moon signs? Now, I want to get the moon sign question out of the way really quickly. The reason I ask people to look at their moon is only to be inclusive for modes of astrology that put special emphasis on the moon as the beginning of the first house. There are certain modalities or practices with astrology, certain schools of thought that put special emphasis on the moon. I personally do not, but I do it to be inclusive. When it comes to tarot, I don't really think it matters as much to look at a rising sign. I think that personally, that a lot of people who are kind of just saying it might just be saying it because they heard that was a good thing to say. I do believe that when you look at rising sign for tarot, it can give you a little bit of insight into how something may come about. Say you got your sun sign reading and it said that you were going to get offered a new job. And then you look at your rising sign, the card said, a friend is maybe going to tell you to go somewhere, or a friend is introducing you to a new group of people. That might give you a clue as to how something happens, but it's not ultimately necessary. The rising sign is the most important when it comes to astrology. Okay, and so when I actually get a chance to look at people's astrology charts, like actually look at it, and we're gonna break down an example chart here in a minute, then I can tell them way more accurately and way more precisely what signs they should be looking at. When an astrologer is saying look at your rising sign, they're saying it, of course, to general audiences, tons of people watching the same video for the same content. When we say look at your rising sign or look at your ascendant, it's a way for us to get as close as we possibly can to what your natal chart makeup might actually look like. Of course, when there's a bunch of people, it's impossible to know exactly when everyone's born to give that kind of individual attention, especially with pre-recorded content. So the rising sign nudge gives us a chance to look and see what is going on there. And so for a lot of people, again, I say once you figure it out, rising sign for astrology, sun sign for tarot, and you should be good. Or again, if you work with a modality that puts special emphasis on the moon, then do moon sign for astrology and sun sign for tarot. And I know there are some people that like tarot, and then there's some people that like astrology, and sometimes those do not cross over and mix. You don't even need to let me know. I've heard every reason in the book, and I like them both still, so don't worry about it. Don't bother. Anyway, so moving on. How do you know what your rising sign or your ascendant is? And how do we actually make such a calculation? How do we go about discovering this? I'm actually going to load an example of a free chart, and you can generate free charts, pretty much anywhere online. There's even an app you can get on your phone, Time Passages. You can go to cafeastrology.com. You could go to astro.com. I'll put a few links below, and you can kind of look and see what you'd like. When it comes to how good is a free chart going to be, it really all depends on what you're looking for. You might not necessarily care for a lot of the minor aspects or, tiny little mathematic points, because not all of them are actually relevant to, again, most situations. We're really just doing this so you can find out what your ascendant really is. On that topic, Ascendant and rising sign, those terms are used interchangeably, but they do technically point to different things. The ascendant itself is a mathematic point in an astrology chart, whereas the rising sign itself is just the sign it happens to inhabit. So let's talk a little bit about how to figure this out. So first we're going to load up a chart, right? To get your ascendant and get it as accurate as possible, you need your birth date. That means day, month, and year, time, and location of birth. The most important thing here is the time of birth, and we want this to be within a 20 to 30 minute approximation. And it's actually a really big deal. And I know that that sounds unfair because, there are a lot of folks out there who are having a hard time getting that kind of information, or it might be tough to go look up those records. But this is actually how these calculations are done. This is how the chart generator is going to do its work. So if you don't have that immediately on hand, you might want to look up hospital records, go get a copy of your birth certificate, see what you can do to find that information for yourself. You cannot generate a rising sign or an ascendant arbitrarily. The reason we need it within a 20 to 30 minute approximation is because roughly every 30 to 60 minutes, your ascendant is going to be changing. Plus, the placements of every other cusp and house in your chart are going to change as well. And so we can't really work with a window of, say, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. That window is too wide. We've got 2 or 3, potential rising signs to put that ascendant in. And I know it sounds complicated, so I think we should just kind of talk about this example chart and get this going for you. So here we have a chart that, let's just say we're doing this for an individual born August 30th, 2019 in Washington, D.C. As we can see, this person is a Virgo sun, but I want you to look at the left hand x-axis, okay? When we look at the left hand x-axis, you might see an Aquarius symbol. This person is an Aquarius rising. But most importantly, their ascendant is 16 degrees Aquarius. Now, this can tell us all kinds of things about this person, but most importantly, we have found the location of the ascendant. Now, I want you to look at the numbers on the inside wheel of the chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, going anti-clockwise around. Those are the houses of this person's natal chart, their personal chart. But if you notice, the cusps of each house, or the lines dividing each house, are actually all in different spots and in different spaces. This person's ascendant may be 16 degrees Aquarius, but their second house doesn't actually begin until we actually get into Aries. If you look at the line between houses 1 and 2, we see that cusp begins at 3 degrees Aries. Now, just based on the math of that, we can actually see, yes, this person is an Aquarius rising. However, their chart is built much more closely to that of a Pisces rising. Now, because this would be occurring during a personal read, I would probably be saying, hey dude, so even though you're an Aquarius rising and all the Aquarius rising traits that come along with that are still present for you, just based on the math and how your chart is actually built up and how it actually portions out, I would say when it comes to general astrology, when it comes to look at your rising sign, look at Pisces rising. I would tell this person, look at, Virgo sun for your tarot and Pisces rising for your astrology. And if you want to look at, the rising for tarot, that's fine. If you want to look at the sun for astrology, that's fine as well. Solar charts are not inaccurate, but I'm just going to go out and say right now, you definitely want to get as close to your personal natal chart as possible. Now, of course, again, when you're doing readings that are going to be viewed by thousands of people, there is just absolutely no way to know when everyone's going to be born, and you can't spend every hour of your waking day answering every comment to generate a chart for a person to figure it out. But when a person is saying, look at your rising sign, we're, again, trying to get as close as we can to this personal placement. So I hope that clears things up a little bit for you. Tarot itself gets into a very personal place. It's more of a martial art, and when it comes to mysticism than it is a science in mysticism like astrology. I can't really speak for every other tarot reader out there. Again, I think it all depends at that point in time on the style that that particular reader is invoking. And I'll probably come back and talk about that in another video. But anyway, I hope that this helps you out. Like I said, please share the heck out of this video. I would love more people to have this answer in their toolkit. And of course, if you ever want to get a personal session with me, please go to my website. It's integrativemysticism.com.